We've had some criticisms of Nigel Farage over the past week or so. Not just us, I mean lots and lots of people, but basically everyone who's ever worked with him, us on the, what do you call them, the online right, a significant, the activists themselves, branch chairmen, we've all had criticisms of Nigel Farage, but I'm here to report that it's over.
Oh.
We lost.
Good point.
Nigel Farage has dropped the R-bomb. Let's check out this video because, he's done it. He's deployed the nuclear weapon.
But I do want to say one thing. Some of the online abuse...
Can you turn it up a bit, please,
and
Harry? It's a bit quiet.
Outright over racism that has been showed against a senior member of this party, had it been shown towards any other member of the ethnic minorities, from the Labour and Conservative parties, every one of you in the journalistic arena in this room would have been in total and absolute uproar. It would have been a major national story. But because it's happening to us, no one seems to really care, with the honourable exception of Danny Finkelstein in the Times. I've never really agreed with anything in the past Danny's ever written, but on this he showed himself to be fair and to be decent. Anyway, we are big enough and ugly enough to take it, and we are cracking on.
Right, well, I guess it's going to be a really short podcast today because, he's won, Cole. He's called us racists. We've got no comeback on that. What do we do?
Well, if Nigel Farage is joining the left, why don't we just do what we do whenever a left-winger calls us a racist and ignore them?
What? Hang on. Are you saying that when somebody calls you a racist, instead of immediately surrendering, you could just ignore that?
Well, I mean, it has been traditionally what we've done with the left. I mean, we did try to argue against them, but it turned out that the accusation wasn't being made in good faith. Then we did try to point out that they're being hypocritical and that they're the real racists, but it turns out that doesn't have any impact on them at all, as I think Nigel Farage is learning. And so we just ignore them and carry on.
Good God, I didn't realise you could do that. That's
Nigel.
Well, that's brilliant. I mean, if only we had known that when you're called racist, instead of immediately surrendering your country, if we had done that 30 years ago, I mean, we could still have a culture and a people.
Yes.
Well, on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, I guess we better sort of suddenly make up a second half of a segment then, because that's thrown me in complete disarray. It appears we're in the situation, as this chap on Twitter points out, Farage thinks that any in-group preference, even the most mild and functional form, is unacceptable. Right. Basically, he's done the Hillary Clinton thing, hasn't he, Cole? He's gone out there and he's called us all a basket of deplorables. The only difference being is that when Hillary Clinton was doing it, she was doing it against her political enemies, and Farage is doing it against his political friends.
Yes, no, he's done kind of the reverse of Hillary Clinton here.
Yeah.
He's attacking his own base for being deplorable, rather than the enemy's base for being deplorable.
Right. Okay. Well, he's basically sort of trying to outflank the Tories from the left then.
Which is a difficult thing to do.
Yes. Well, to be fair, the Tories did manage to flank Labour from the left, so there is precedent of it being done.
Yes, but that's the point. That's how far left the Tories are.
Yeah.
If the Tories are outflanking Labour to the left and Farage is outflanking the Tories to the left, well, he's definitely wandered into quite left-wing territory.
There was a quip that you made that I quite enjoyed at the recent Whitton, where basically somebody asked you who you were going to vote for, and you said, well, I don't know, maybe Labour because they're the most right-wing party that I can find. I mean, that's sort of the situation that we found ourselves in, where every time we have something that purports to be a right-wing party, they basically then try and flank the Labour from the left and then reform are flanking Tories from the left.
I can't help but notice that Keir Starmer is currently enacting a series of governmental and institutional reforms to cut waste.
Yes.
And reduce the size of the state. Never thought I'd say that.
Yeah, he's like cut a whole NHS England department or something, isn't he?
The whole Quango that controls it, yeah.
Cutting benefits.
And cutting benefits, yeah, is the next thing he's going to do. So, right.
and immigration numbers are down. I mean, to be fair, you
not
had
by
to,
much, but
yeah, you had to be going some to keep up with the Boris wave. But
you had really worked to keep up with the Boris.
we seem to have genuinely ended up in a situation where the Labour, the most right-wing party, they're just thoroughly incompetent.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty extraordinary. I wonder if this messaging has got across. Oh, it has. Look, there we go. It's got across to Rupert Lowe this clever strategy of basically saying when you're called racist, just I don't care. Let's look at this. Let's just pretend that the importation, legally and illegal, of a countless young foreign men who have zero respect for women has had no impact on women's safety. And to those who raise concerns and those of us who raise concerns are somehow racist, honestly, who cares?
There we go.
So Lowe's got the memo.
There's our Trump.
Yes.
Don't really care.
Well, I suppose that's the other genius of Trump, isn't it? Is that he didn't kowtow to the frame of, you can probably say this better than me, but the frame of reference that the enemy set for you, something like that.
Yeah. The moral paradigm that the enemy have set is you're not allowed to ever be essentially self-interested in your own good. And Rupert Lowe said, well, I don't really care about that, actually. So basically what we need to do is get Rupert Lowe a party.
Yeah.
And then we can actually have a right-wing party in Britain.
Okay.
If you can imagine such a thing.
Yes, because, I mean, we used to have 5 left-wing parties, and now it looks like we've got 6 left-wing parties. So
it does, yeah.
Yes, not so good. Anyway, well, let's cheer us up a bit. What do we got here? Oh, this is a lovely compilation. It's about a slightly more than a minute, which is a longer clip than I'd normally play on the podcast. But this is so enjoyable that I thought it was worth playing in full. So, Harry, can you play this for us?
Deporting. Deportations. Deported. Deportation. They should be securely detained until rapid deportation can be arranged. Deported. Deportations. 2 words. Detain. Deport. Deportations. Tens of thousands of deportations. Deportations. 2 words. Detain. Deport. Deportations. 2 Ds. Detain. Deport. Deport those with no right to be here. Deportation or mass deportation. Detained and deported. Detain and deport. Detain, deport. Detain, deport. Deport. Mass deportations. Deportation. Or even mass deportation. Mass deportations. Deportations. Deported. And they should be deported.
I can see why Farage is like, oh God, this guy's got to go.
Yeah.
Because that's a message that's going to resonate.
Well, I mean that was quite enjoyable. I mean, Lowe coming out as a double D enthusiast, as every red-blooded male should be in this country.
Yes.
But I mean, this is kind of a thing, isn't it? It's like, those of us on the right, we've got a fairly simple set of requests here.
Yes, send the illegals home.
Yes.
Stay day one. It's not difficult.
Well, not just the illegals, but the people who can't afford to support themselves either.
Sure, but the I think the most easy one to put across to the public,
yes,
that they will most understand is, look, we can sidestep any questions, that might get into the weeds about anything. If someone is here illegally, they should be sent home. Like 67% of people agree with that just every single illegal should be sent home. Okay, well, let's do that. That's a great campaign promise.
Yeah, because it depends how you set these things up, doesn't it? Because the left will always want to come at this from an absolutist perspective, which is, let's say you've got a foreign wife and she lives with you for 40 years and then you die. Do you deport her the day after you die? They go for the most extreme, ridiculous examples that you can think of. And to be fair, there are some spurgs on the right who actually want to go down that route, but that's unhelpful. But actually, you're right. You just start from, okay, well, what can we agree on? The people who came here illegally, okay, obviously they've got to go.
Yeah.
Okay, then what about 1 inch to the right of that? Okay, what about People who came here legally but are engaged in serious crime. Perhaps they're serving a jail term. Can we deport them when they finish their jail term?
Again, something like 67% of people agree with that.
Oh yeah, because there was that poll that came out, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are completely mainstream, uncontroversial positions, by the way.
Was it something like 99% of reform supporters are in favour of deportations, and 67%
of normals.
Yeah. So that's a pretty
even 52% of Lib Dems.
52% of Lib Dems.
Yeah. So even most Lib Dems agree.
I mean, it's almost impossible to find anything of which.
It's the most popular political position in the entire country.
Right.
There's just nothing that has this kind of level of agreement on.
So why do you think Farage is saying that it's impossible then?
Yeah, that's a great question. I can't answer it. I mean, I saw Gwaine Towler going out, and he's been really pounding the beat for Farage in the wake of this Rupert Lowe thing, and he made a very important distinction between illegal immigrants who have committed crimes, which is the ones that Farage promises he'll deport, even though, as if I believe that, and then those that haven't committed crimes should just be left in the country to have the opportunity to commit crimes. I think there's something that Gwaine kind of missed on that, which is the term illegal immigrant means that every single one of them has committed a crime.
Yes.
And so every single one of them can go. And it's that simple.
Yes, I mean, by definition, they are
literally criminals.
Literally criminals.
Yes.
I hadn't actually. That's an interesting point. I think I'd understood this on some level, but you're right. Farage's commitment to deportation only goes as far as people who are here illegally and have also committed another crime on top of that.
Yes, and often these crimes are horrific, and it would be better to prevent those people who are here illegally from committing those crimes before we deport them. Like it would be better to deport them to prevent them having murdered or raped someone or something like that.
Yes, but you're right. So he's committed to basically the smallest possible subsect.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, the next step up from that is, okay, you just deport everybody who's here illegally. The next step up from that is, okay, you deport all of them, plus all of the people who are here legally with dual citizenship who have also committed a crime.
Which, again, the British public overwhelmingly supports.
And then you could go a little bit further, which is, okay, we're not going to provide, welfare support. In fact, I think that's Rupert's next point here. He says, if a foreign national is unable to support themselves financially, then why are they here? What are they contributing? What benefit are they providing to the British people?
We have been banging this drum for years. It's finally nice to see an MP actually saying it.
But I mean, is there any other country? I mean, maybe the chat or the comments can sort of inform us. But is there any other country, any non-Western country that you can go to and just turn up and just get given a house?
Well, there's not going to be a non-Western country. No, it's only Western countries that are insistent that everyone must have human rights everywhere, all over the place, and that means free BMWs from the government. Only those countries do this. Obviously, a normal country doesn't do this.
Yeah. I mean, any normal country, irrespective of what you contribute when you're there, if you go in illegally, you're automatically out. It's just an automatic out. But also, I mean, most countries, they kind of want you to demonstrate that you can support yourself.
Yeah, and it's worth noting as well that most countries actually don't have a major problem with illegal immigration, right? Because most of the time, it's not advantageous to break into a foreign country because most countries aren't set up to benefit foreigners. Right, most countries. No, but it's literally that simple.
Yes.
Right, most countries are just not set up. They don't have like an entire section of their law dedicated to protecting the rights of foreign people who break into the country. Right, and so you can't get benefits. You don't have lawyers on your team. You don't have the media and this activist class, NGOs, the Quangos. That you don't have them all pulling in your favour to get you as much native money poured into your pockets as possible. They don't put you up in a house. They don't give you a car. They don't put you in a hotel. They don't just give you spending money, right? And then the society itself is parochial. The society itself is like, no, I'm not going to, if I'm in Guatemala or something and some guy from the Congo turns up, I'm not going to hire him because I don't know who he is. What the hell is he doing here? I'm going to hire another Guatemalan guy, right? So there's a natural preferencing for the native population by the native population. And so the civilization is set up for itself and not to support foreigners. So most of the time, what would be the advantage to breaking into Guatemala illegally? None. It would be really difficult, and you'd probably starve. It'd go badly for you. So this is not a problem they have to deal with. No one in the Congo is like, great, I'm going to break into Guatemala and then I'm going to take advantage. There's nothing to take advantage of.
Yeah.
It's only Western countries that do this. This is why, China doesn't have this problem.
I mean, that's sort of designed throughout the fabric of the society. I mean, I remember queuing up for some cultural site or something in one of the Asian countries, and it had a big sign up that sort of said entry fee and whatever it was, 800 somethings.
Yep.
And then I noticed there was the foreign language, well, the native language, with a big 400 under it. And so I asked one of the little locals, I said, well, what does that part of the sign says? And he says, basically natives pay half as much as foreigners do. We do the exact opposite in this country. Yes. We've recently put together a scheme where if you're an illegal immigrant, you can attend an English heritage site for free. I mean, we set up our society on the basis of doing everything the opposite way round.
I mean, I have to pay for my English heritage membership.
Yes.
So, there we go.
Yeah.
But then I have to pay to live in a house.
Yes.
Whereas foreigners, obviously, they don't. 72% of Somalis are paid to live in Britain by the British taxpayer. Like half of the social housing in London is occupied by foreigners. So we're just occupying London with a bunch of foreign people that we're paying for. And this is why we're paying more than a million foreigners just to live here at our expense.
Well, isn't something like 60% of London's social housing is occupied by
45%
or 45% occupied by first generation immigrants
yeah.
who obviously cannot support themselves, and that's why they're in social housing.
And we're literally paying for them to live in our capital city. Yeah.
I mean, there were a few simple things that you could do that could start to move this situation around.
Stop paying them, yeah.
Yeah. Well, one, the basics, enforce the law,
yeah.
where you get rid of people who haven't done that. And you don't even need to getting any more... Well, you can get more aggressive on your deportation policy, but you can also go a hell of a long way just by saying, one, we're not going to pay you to be here.
Yeah.
If you don't have at least one British grandparent, you're not getting any benefits.
Yeah.
Which is a very low bar, I think.
You could even have it as if you weren't born in this country, would be a massive... I mean, that would be $7.5 billion a year that you then knock off.
Yep.
Right? And that's just in the universal credit. That's not in the housing system and the NHS or anything else that they're claiming on. That you would probably say something... It's going to be around like $20 billion a year.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably like to do it on the basis of grandparents, given that the last,
sure.
basically since 1997, there's been so much immigration.
Sure.
Now we've got lots of second-generation immigrants who, maybe their parents didn't, or maybe their parents did work, but I don't. But yeah, you're right. You could even do it for first-generation immigrants. You could only go back that far, and at least you'd be cutting the flow at that point.
Tens of billions you'd save.
Yeah.
And the incentive to move to here would be massively reduced.
I mean, the other thing that always occurs to me is, and I was a bit ill at the end of the last week, so I don't know if we covered this or not, but there was some horrible stuff going around on Twitter about the slaughterhouses.
Yep.
As simple as basically enforcing food standard laws universally.
Yeah, for anyone who's not aware, halal and kosher slaughter requires it for arcane religious reasons to be non-stunned for some reason, as if that's...
Well, I doubt very much a 7th century text made reference to you must not stun them.
No.
It just didn't specify that you would.
But the point is, this is somehow objectionable to, again, these ancient religions. And it's like, well, that's not really my problem, is it? You have countries that you can go to if you don't like the way that we slaughter our animals here, and these are our rules and these are our laws, and you have to abide them. And the thing is, you could just import the meat or something like that if you wanted.
I would probably favour just banning halal and kosher meat and banning the import as well. And it's like, okay, if
you could, but
if it's that important, you just become a vegetarian.
Yeah, but the thing is, I'm thinking of what's most likely to win over the British public, right? So it's most likely to, if you wanted to have a campaign against halal slaughter, very easy to win over the British public. Very easy. Because, I mean, in the one example, they were slaughtering sheep, but whilst they were playing, like, wolf noises to scare them, it's just like, okay, that's just
unnecessarily evil.
Yeah, exactly. Comically evil.
Yes.
Right? That would be a very easy thing to just say, well, look, we're just not going to allow you to do that. So that's over. Get used to it. And, there would be people who say, well, okay, well, you can just deport, and that's fine. Let them have it for now. It's just we are going to establish some boundaries, and we're going to worry about what comes afterwards, right? But for now, no, you can't just massacre these animals without any thought to their welfare. That's horrible.
So, I mean, Lowe seems to be onto something here with some of this stuff. I mean, he writes well. He seems very based. I mean, he seems to me, to be honest, like the sort of person that would read The Islander. The Islander, the magazine, which we produce. We are not getting any money from YouTube whatsoever because they hate us and they keep demonetizing us. So if you like the fact that we exist, why not go to our shop and buy Islander 3? You'll get this beautiful magazine. Lovely. This is a lovely collector's piece, and if you are going to do that, do it very soon because we probably only got a couple more days worth of stock because this one is selling even faster than the first two.
Yeah, it's been really good.
Yes.
I am actually going to send Rupert one of our copies because I would like to have it, and I think he'd enjoy it.
Well, you better go and take one out the pile quickly before they all sell.
I will actually,
and packet it off. I
actually have taken a couple of copies to myself, and I'll send him one of mine.
I like this reference as well. It's a random comment, but comparing Farage to Kronos, devouring his children for fear that they might surpass him. I thought that was a beautiful reference.
I mean, that's exactly what he's doing.
Yes. The other thing that I find interesting is, and Morgoth sort of makes this point quite well, is so the Hillary Clinton thing of dumping on the online right. So the online right are out, Tories and Lib Dems are in.
We'll cover this more in my segment, but that's.
I think you will, yes.
Precisely what
I think that's definitely a point to come back to. The other thing that I found quite interesting, and maybe you'll pick up in your segment as well, it's just the level of establishment support that Reform seem to be getting. I mean, every day I'm seeing lifelong Tories coming out. I mean, this is a full page spread in, what was it, the Daily Express?
Yep.
Basically explaining why everybody needs to get behind Nigel Farage.
So I think this is actually quite straightforwardly explainable. Look at the framing of the Reform Party. Right, whenever you want to reform something, that is to say, this thing is valid, it is useful, it's good, we want to keep this. However, there are problems with it, exigencies with it that need to be changed, and therefore it needs reform if we want it to continue into the future. And so what Farage is saying is, look, we need to carry on the liberal order, but I'm a necessary corrective to that liberal order, which is, I mean, honestly, I don't even know what he's going to do differently to the Labour Party, frankly.
Yes.
Like, Keir Starmer is that necessary corrective, and he is actually going through the stages of what actually needs to be done to preserve the order, which is not good because, of course, this current order is destroying the country. But Farage is not presenting himself as a threat to the system. He is presenting himself as the saviour of the system.
Well, yes, I mean, that's the interesting thing. I mean, it's like we've ended up in a situation where every single party does the opposite of what its name says. So the Conservatives aren't conserving anything. Labour do not represent Labour. They represent people on benefits. The Liberal Democrats are not democratic. They want to overturn Brexit, and Reform has no interest in reforming anything.
Or reforming itself.
Yes. Well, Reform is unreformable.
Yes. It's literally unreformable. Yeah.
I don't know why every single party needs to do the absolute opposite of everything that it says. Nick Dixon. He was quite funny.
He is funny.
Friend of the show, he points out, tired of being called racist by our progressive political elites, now you can be called racist by the new popular uprising.
That's great. That's done it really well as well. That's a good tweet.
But, it's just... if you don't...
It's literally where we're at. The year is 20... I tweeted this out. The year is 2029 and Prime Minister Nigel Farage is calling you a racist for not wanting unlimited Islamic immigration.
Actually, no, you were quite good on this.
Yeah.
You said in the office about a week ago, it's only a matter of time before Nigel Farage calls Lowe a racist. Mm-hmm. And he obviously wanted to, and he couldn't quite do it because he knows that Lowe would sue the arse off him if he did it. So he's probably been scratching his head for the last week thinking, okay, how can I know what I'll do. I'll call all of the people that are supporting him racist, and by implication that will rub off on Lowe.
There we go.
Brilliant.
Very cunning, Nigel.
Well done. Where has this got to? Because obviously, when you deploy the R bomb, that's been deployed against Nigel in the past. In fact, didn't Catherine Blakelock on our website? She wrote a brilliant article where she basically explained that was in the early 2000s. Farage wrote an article in which he blamed Romania.
No, it wasn't. No, it was 2015.
2015.
When he was saying how an unlimited number of Romanians and Hungarians or Bulgarians will be able to come over.
Right.
And the media rounded on him as a racist, and he was taken aback.
Yes.
Because
calling a boomer a racist is probably the worst thing you can do to them.
Yeah, it's calling them a Nazi.
Yeah.
As far as they're concerned.
So he was deeply rattled in 2015 by suggesting that Romanians commit more crime, which they do.
Also, they're white. They're white Europeans.
Yes, but you had people on the left.
why
They throw around the term racist all the time. So.
Yeah. But they're literally white Europeans. Though.
Yes. but
Romanians are not brown.
But he was so scarred and beaten from having been called racist.
This is what everyone knows I've got Romanian friends, and they're like, yeah, well, they're going to commit more. Like they know they're not going to tell you that they're not going to. Like, come on.
But he was so scarred and beaten from having been called racist that he remembered it and he thought, that's a powerful weapon.
Oh yeah.
And I'm going to use that in the future. And he's been waiting for it and he's deployed it and everybody's like, oh no, I don't care.
Yeah. Well,
Nigel Lowe doesn't care.
But what I like his point here as well. It's like, well, none of you people in the media seem to care. It's like, oh my God, Nigel, you're on the cusp of a revelation. They only used it for the people they like, and they don't use it indiscriminately for the people they don't like, because actually they don't care, Nigel. Actually they were just using it as a weapon to beat you.
I think the key thing that Nigel needs to understand is politics is basically friend-enemy distinction, and it's that simple. Is if you're an enemy, they're just going to call you names.
It is absolutely now. It didn't used to be. You can go back. You can find through the 70s and 80s and 60s, like all of these really genteel conversations between people on different sides of the aisle, and it's all very and that's when they all agreed, no, we are all on the same team. And then the 2000s happened, and the left were like, but what if we don't agree we're on the same team? What if we hate you and want you dead? Yeah. And we've got a word that we can use against you indiscriminately, and bam, 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 look at you, you're all racist and transphobes. And so it becomes friend-enemy if you've got one faction of your politics that is not prepared to play nice with the rest.
Yes.
And Nigel doesn't seem to understand that that's where we are.
So what might be quite interesting to watch, and we'll round off on this, is that Farage obviously thought, look, I've got this super weapon. I'm going to deploy the R-bomb.
Why don't I use
and as soon as I do, I'm basically going to win. Anyway, so he broke out the weapon and nothing happened. And this is... can we play this video? This is him after he's deployed the R-bomb, and he's confused and he doesn't know what's going on because Rupert Lowe is still being brought up and he can't handle it. Let's watch this.
As the questions went on, people started asking more about Rupert Lowe, and how shall I put it? Nigel Farage was getting increasingly frustrated with some of the journalists.
Hi Nigel, Rupert Lowe's threatened legal action over reforms claims. It's interesting whether you'd be prepared to fight him in court on that. If he took you to court, would you fight him in court?
I shall look forward to it, thank you.
Nigel,
just quickly on the same issue as Amy here. Do you think that Rupert Lowe is responsible for...
Yes.
Sorry, Rupert did say that he was asked to tone down his speech on that.
He seems rattled.
He is a bit rattled. And notice the sort of the solipsistic boomer mindset, right?
Yep.
It's one thing to say to the left, oh, allegations of racism, because he's used this before against the left, where it's like boring, and carried on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine because it is boring when the left are constantly just calling everyone a racist or transphobe or sexist, whatever, under the sun forever. But that's not what's happening here.
Yes.
No, this is a genuine set of concerns by your own supporters. I mean, these are Telegraph journalists.
Yes.
Like, these aren't like, Guardian journos or something who have come with some insane, arcane, obtuse interpretation of something you've said to suggest that you hate every brown person who's ever walked the earth or something. No, that's not what's happening here. You made a bunch of false allegations against Rupert Lowe. They evaporated into air almost instantly, and so now you're trying to avoid having to talk about your bad behaviour to one of your MPs because he seemed like a threat to your position as the leader of the party.
Oh, it's so transparently that.
It's so transparently that.
Yes.
And so going, well, this is boring. It's like, yeah, but you are the one on the hook for mistreating someone who didn't deserve it, Nigel.
And then he tries to join the oppression Olympics by getting himself on the victim hierarchy stack.
Yeah.
And
I will hold Zia Yusuf in front of me and
Yes.
say, look, you're just a racist towards him.
he's my brown totem of magical power.
Yeah, as if that's anything to do with Rupert Lowe. Come on.
But he's discovered that magic doesn't work in his hands.
Well, it never does for the right, because
Yes.
the right doesn't sincerely believe it.
Yes.
He doesn't think that every Muslim in Britain is being oppressed by the nature of them being in Britain,
Yes.
right? And so you can't invoke these spells without the genuine, sincere power that you would need to draw on. And he can't do that because he's not a leftist. Well, yet. Not like a true leftist, you know. It requires true leftism. Sit there and go, well, you are, you know, that he can't summon it up.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.